Hello, I'm Dr. Asavari Manvikar. I would like to welcome you all to the CAR Global Webinar Research Series. Council for Ayurveda Research is an international non-profit organization based out of USA with its sister science, the sister chapter in India. Its name is AAAF, Ayurvidya Anusandhan Abhiyan Foundation. Our mission is to encourage, educate, and facilitate basic clinical and interdisciplinary research in Ayurveda. Our vision is to promote and establish Ayurveda as an evidence based health science globally. You can learn more about us at ayurvedaresearchusa.org. So please do consider joining us as a member, which will bring you to the access to all our resources. We are a non-profit and we would love to have more volunteers. There is a lot of work to do. And please consider to join us as a volunteer. We can place you in variety of projects based on your skills and your interest. So once again, our website is www.ayurvedaresearchusa.org. So now I would like to introduce you to our eminent speaker today, Dr. Marda Ghanashyam. He is a gold medalist from University of Pune. He has done MD in Ayurveda with specialization in heart diseases. He is DPC in Panchakarma with specialization in neurology. He is PhD in Yoga and Ayurveda. He has a private clinic, Suraj Ayurveda, on Law College Road in Pune. And he is also attached to charitable trust at Raiganj Shindi. Past 12 years, he has been working as a research officer at Ayurveda Research Institute, Tilak Maharashtra Vidyapit Pune. He has made a significant contribution to various research projects, including heart disease, diabetes, pain, and mental health in autism, lumbago chronic pain management with diet and external therapy, as well as obesity. He has been teaching as an Ayurvedic expert to many students in eminent colleges and universities in France, Europe, and America, including Middlesex University in London, CNPDS Public Health Ministry in Romania, Iyengar Yoga Academy, Germany, Schooloa CEF in Italy, Field and Center Bhanu, Lisbon in Portugal, and Ayurveda for Everyone, New York, USA. He has been working as an editor and co-author at Dirghayu International since 2002. He is awarded with gold medal in MD as well as Young Scientist Award 2002-2003. He has got National Best Ayurveda Research Award 2019. International Ayurveda Excellence Award by Ministry of Ayush in 2019. He is a president of Ayurvedya Pune at NGO, which is working for Educational Institute for Ayurveda students and professionals. We are really very fortunate to have you as a speaker today. Dr. Marda, it's over to you now.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. The subject is really vast. What I have done is I will just give you some glimpse of Ayurveda, what Ayurveda thinks about heart or cardiology. Before that, some present scenario. Well, that scenario was in 2017 when I completed my research, the second research. And then I will bring you to some interesting aspect of Ayurveda where many kind of research project can be started. And then I will give you a small research study of 37 patients. So that's the today's program. So let's go ahead. So basically, as I told you, I will just give you a glimpse of what is the scenario now in world. This is in 2017. So globally, one cause of death in estimated 17.7 million people who have died in CVDs, means cardiovascular disease in 2015. So in fact, it's the 31% of total global death. This was in 2017 published by WHO. So now we are in 2020 end or 2021. So that number might have increased. Then what is interesting is three-quarters of the death are in low and middle income countries. So my country is one of that. And India is number one in cardiovascular diseases, in diabetes, and in obesity today in the world, whether you count it with the population wise or whether you count it demographically. We were supposed to be number one in diabetes in 2021, which is now, but we were already in number one in 2014. So you can imagine the way we are proceeding. So that's the reason my country needs much more attention in metabolic disorders like cardiovascular or diabetes, etc. So altogether, if you consider, most cardiovascular diseases can be prevented, and this is not me, this is the WHO saying that by certain behavioral risk factors if you identify and if you try to avoid that. Well, we know that tobacco use, everybody knows that. Unhealthy diet, obesity, physical activity, and harmful use of alcohol. There are certain comorbidities like friend, they are friend to each other. So they are mainly four. One is diabetes, second is hyperlipidemia or obesity, third is hypertension, and fourth is cardiovascular. So they are friends. So if you get one, you are on high risk of getting another. So it's the comorbidity. They stay together. So that's the reason, and these all are coming under in a way metabolic diseases. So that's the reason that unhealthy diet or certain other behavioral habits become risk factors. So if you see, probably you might not see everything, but still I'm trying to explain you. So there are certain traditional risk factors and there are certain non-traditional risk factors for cardiovascular diseases or atherosclerosis. And if you see, the first one is age. Of course, age matters, but once you cross your 45, if you are a man, or once you cross 55, if you are a woman, you are at risk naturally to get atherosclerosis. So this is a traditional risk factor. So age matters. And that's where, in fact, Ayurveda branch, one branch of Ayurveda, what we call Rasayana, is really helpful. Secondly, as I already explained you, he's a friend diabetes. Hypertension, dyslipidemia, that is, they are the friends. Smoking, everybody knows, so I don't need to explain. Obesity or lack of exercise. Now, this is something which we need to pay attention to. What happens that today, many of our careers or jobs are moving us towards sedentary lifestyle. So we are sitting in the chair for hours. Maybe like me, for example, working doctor, I'm in the chair almost 12 hours a day minimum. So let's see if I'm sleeping 7 hours, I need an hour or two for my 2-3 meals. So 8 plus 2, 10, and remaining all the hours I'm sitting in the chair, or I'm sitting in my bike or my vehicle to go to different places, or IT professional. So if you see lack of exercise, of course there is some now some educational or literacy matters and people started to get aware of that, but then they overdo. They do workouts. So that is another story. That is another contribution to some other diseases. Now, one more thing which is added, that is premature family history of cat, which was not before, but now in last 25 years, we do consider that if a family member of you is having any of these four friends, you have a possibility to get one of that. So these are the traditional risk factors. Now, non-traditional risk factors, which relates to certain posture or certain diseases. For example, abnormal ankle brachial index. So you are not really responsible for that, but still it can be a risk factor for cardiovascular. There are certain inflammatory factors, chronic inflammation, and that's what we really are suffering. Almost all of us are having some sort of chronic inflammation. Maybe it's in the muscles, maybe it's in the joints, maybe it's in colon, wherever. We are suffering from pains, aches, inflammation every now and then. And so if it remains, then you are prone to. So chronic inflammation. Then there are certain disease or certain body chemicals which can be a traditional risk factor. So like homocysteine or C-reactive protein or fibrinogen, etc. So I'm not going into the details of that. What I really wanted to pay attention to is two things more. One is metabolic syndrome. So there are various metabolic diseases which convert into metabolic syndrome, and that can be a important risk factor for cardiovascular disease. And I'll explain you that a bit later why it is with example. And secondly, this albumin creatinine or microproteinuria, because we are so much obsessed with drinking minerals or taking minerals that we don't really pay attention to the mineral management function of kidney. And that's where something goes wrong and we realize when it's already late. So that is another important traditional risk factor. Now, what WHO advocated in 2017, that the prevention can be done in a two-way, population-wide and individual. Population-wide, there are certain interventions that can be implemented, like tobacco control policies, etc., or taxing the food which are having high in fat, sugar, or salt, or fat means saturated fat, more precisely. Or these are the population-wide, building, walking, and cycle, bicycle paths, increasing physical activity, etc. At the individual level, well, one more thing is providing healthy school meals to the children. Many of you might be a parent, so you know what kind of food is given in the school. So that's really where it starts, in fact. At individual level, there are certain things which need to be paid attention to or concentrated. But that is more limited to risk factors, in fact, or that is more limited to certain things, not a global thinking which Ayurveda does. So there are two strategies WHO says we will have to adopt, and Ayurveda has done that very well, especially in the individual case. Now, what Ayurveda thinks? Ayurveda described this cardiovascular disease in different topics, not one. Okay, there is one big chapter which is called Trimarmiya, means Hridroga, chapter of heart diseases. But if you see the description, most of them are chronic conditions. So it's a chronic cardiovascular disease. Whereas certain acute conditions are described in a pain chapter. In Sushruta, for example, in Uttar Tantra, they have described Chula, which is an acute cardiovascular condition, for example. Also, they have described certain acute condition in Vatavyadi. So, it's not in one particular topic. It is scattered as per the need. And that's where the research starts. Why certain things are described here and why certain things are described there. And then it comes under certain specific conditions. Why it is described there? Because there is certain specific condition. For example, there is a particular disease in Ayurveda named Amavata. what we can say it's like rheumatism. We can correlate with rheumatism. So if you see that particular description, Ayurveda is the first sign because we know what happens in rheumatism. We know that in the joint there is a streptococci infection, joint get inflamed, and inflammatory condition starts, and this is rheumatism. But why there? No answer. Why there? Why in the joint? No answer. Now, one of the complications of rheumatism is valvular defect or mitral wall or pulmonary wall defects. So why walls? Ayurveda is the first science which considers wall as a joint. Then the answer comes that if it is related to joint, then the pathology can occur there. Ayurveda is the first science which describes that this particular element called ama travels first to the heart. So when it goes to the heart, naturally it will occupy the heart joints. So there are certain things you know the further things, but you don't know the platform, and Ayurveda provides you the platform. And getting that platform is another type of research. So see, my study was like 2 years in the beginning when I did in postgraduate, but that created interest. It took me 12 years further to develop further assessments. Then Ayurveda do know and describe the fatality or importance of heart. For example, Ayurveda says it is a Sadhya Pranahara Marma, immediate killing. It's a vital point which can kill you immediately if affected. And second thing, that diseases related to this are truly painful or making you suffer. Pain doesn't mean just pain, it's a suffering. And we know that if the heart is affected, even while talking, while walking, the person get breathless. So it become difficult, or it's more suffering for the person. Many of the diseases are serious and also difficult to cure or probably make you dependent. The location of heart is in the middle part. So they describe three different parts in the body: external, which is skin, etc., internal, which is digestive system, and the middle one, which is a bit difficult because there is no direct access. Either you have to approach through skin there, outer to middle, or inner to middle. So it's a bit difficult. Most important thing, Ayurveda says that the mind stays there. And today, with the amount of stress we are living, I don't need to explain you importance of mind and mental disorders. And if the mind is staying in the heart, so if mind is suffering, because it's like a house and the person. Let's say if I'm staying in my house, I get drunk and I broke my window. So I got drunk, but the house is suffering because I broke the window. So there is a relationship, resident and residence. And this relationship is established by Ayurveda. So in any mental condition, the first impact will be on the heart. Any psychological situation, the first impact will be on the heart. And that's what we notice every now and then. If we are stressed, if we are fearful, frightened, our heart starts to beat more. If we are angry, we become red faced, our blood pressure goes high. So Ayurveda is really stressing this point that mind stays in the heart and work with the help of brain. This is something which we need to keep into the mind. Then this is not enough. Ayurveda describes also structural changes in the heart, like what we call cardiomegaly or hypertrophy or muscular myocarditis, muscular inflammatory condition. Myocardium is inflamed. So this kind of diseases, which are not really acute in the beginning, but they might turn into acute. These are described in actual Hridroga part, where it's clearly described the there is a displacement or there is a dilatation or there is an increase in the size of heart. So Ayurveda has thought thoroughly about the situation. Now further, the real cardiovascular story which we will see today, which is acute condition. So acute ischemic pain due to vessel block is clearly described by Sushruta under the name of Ruchula. So what Sushruta describes there is Vata blocked by Kapha Pitta in Rasavahini, means in vessel, create acute pain, and most important is difficulty in expiration, not inspiration, expiration. And this is exact situation you can see in most of the acute cardiovascular accident. The person feel difficulty in expiration, not really in inspiration. Of course, when you are difficulty in expiration, later it bothers your inspiration. So these are clear things described there. There is a description of angina. There is description like postprandial angina, means you eat and after you get the chest pain or cardiac pain, or empty stomach, you get in certain condition cardiac pain. So there are various situations described. Also, Ayurveda says that certain cardiac diseases requires surgical intervention. It cannot be treated just by medical management. Another specialty of Ayurveda that while they're describing, which I will explain a bit more in the next image, they have used one word, inverted lotus blood. You have seen lotus. So, research begins when I study this in my first year. First question come to my mind, why lotus? Why not rose? Why lotus flower? Why not rose? Why inverted? Why not straight? I went on. Then one night I went to one of the Ganesh temple famous in Pune in my college, and I bring one lotus from there to see. And then I realized certain things which I will explain you later. So in one line, what they try to explain, you'll be surprised. And such kind of examples or the things, what they use in the text are also a subject of research. Why? If I would not have gone to see the lotus, I would never realized what I realized and what you will know in the next slides. Then Ayurveda describes that there are four circular mandal, circular type of joints. Circular means what? Closing, opening, closing, opening. These kind of joints. Like this. This is exactly the situation of valves. Maybe it's mitral valve, maybe it's pulmonary valve, maybe it's aortic valve. So they were aware that this kind of structure exists there. And if it is considered a joint, then they are prone to amvata, then they are prone to rheumatic heart disease. Then one more thing, emotions like anger, sadness, fear, etc., which are associated with mind, has a great impact on heart. Not just that, sleep disturbances can adversely affect mind and heart. So there are various aspects Ayurveda describes. So this example of lotus, I will explain you. So why lotus? I started to see, and then I realized that lotus never closes if there are three petals. Lotus need four petals. The closing is overlapping to each other. And this is exactly, if you dissect and if you see the heart, it's like that. Four chambers, two atrium, two ventricles, and they are almost like overlapping each other. Lotus has, if you see the lotus petal, there is an inner line which has like hairs. which is bundle branches in the heart. Now, lotus is one of the very rare flower which closes and opens on its own. Some lotus closes in the night, opens in the daytime. Some closes daytime, opens in the night. So opening closing mechanism is in the lotus, which is a mechanism in heart rate, heartbeats, opening and closing. The atrial scenario that closes means pumps, the flows go to the ventricle, ventricle closes, atrium is refilled, and the flows goes to the arch of heart. Then why inverted? Because the apex of heart is down and the base is on up. So if the opening and closing is done by petals, it need to be inverted. And another thing, it need to be inverted to close and open. So apex will be down, apex and base of heart. This is exactly what is here. That's why inverted. They were not mad just saying that to invert it. If it's not inverted, then apex should be up. It's not. When it is inverted, it doesn't stay like that. It goes in this way. Because the weight here is more, weight here is less. So it goes in this way. That forms the arch of aorta, the stem of the lotus. And always, if you see the lotus flower, there are two green leaves connected, which are lungs. So just by giving one example, they try to establish that heart has four chambers, heart has bundle branches, four chambers are overlapped. Because of that overlapping, there is a circular type of joints. Heart apex is down, it opens and closes, means it beats. The arch of aorta, the lungs connection separately. Just by one example. So imagine if I would not have seen lotus, would I have known this? Not. So research starts at your level, student level. Research starts at the moment you start to study. You should always start asking question, why? Why not that? Why this? Now, Ayurveda is the science which is linking heart to digestive system. And now, just remember, metabolic syndrome or renal repercussion to heart are important things in or important risk factors. Ayurveda establish the relationship digestive system, respiratory system, heart, digestive system, inner way circulatory system, and heart. So digestive system become one of the important base, and disturbed digestive system can be a risk factor for many cardiac conditions. Then I will try to describe causes. Well, many of them are food and this, but something we need to pay attention to. Certain qualities like sour or especially fermented food, because when you consume fermented food, you promote alcoholic reaction. And when there is an alcoholic not reaction, really production, because fermented food is basic in nature and the digestive system pH is acidic. So body tend to secrete more acid. So certain things are exaggerated. It takes bit time to digest. So there is a great chance of producing flatulence or certain heaviness, etc. Now the location of heart is just above diaphragm. There's the diaphragm, there's the heart and lungs beside. And just below diaphragm, there is liver, there is spleen, and the stomach and colon. So if something goes wrong here, they will put pressure on diaphragm. When the diaphragm is pressurized, heart will be pressurized. When lungs will be pressurized, heart will be pressurized. If it is pressurized, you will feel breathless. That's why when you eat too much for an hour, you're not really comfortable. You're breathless. Imagine if it happens every day. At one point, heart muscle will lose their flexibility. At one point, the arteries will not really go back to their normal structure, which is the beginning of atherosclerosis. Even simple thing. This is a very simple thing. In my postgraduate study, all the 40 patients, 39 patients, the onset was early in the morning, around 3, 4 o'clock, and the evening they had something which was producing flatulence. They started to get some feeling of pressure, discomfort, burping, breathlessness, nausea, and acute chest pain. So, certain food which will disturb, like tikshna, what we call dry, hot, and sharp or penetrating quality food. What happens when it comes to heart? We always blame to fat or sugar. I have quite a few number of patients, they never consume sugar in their life except childhood. Like 18, 19, 20, when they realize they stop sugar, last 20 years, 22 years, they are not taking sugar, but they got a cardiac thing. So it's not in that way. The way mechanism happens, we need to identify. Of course, there are many other things, but I'm just paying few attention certain things like separation of natural urges in behavior. Ayurveda has described 13 natural urges. Natural urges means what? The natural sensation which you should not really stop. You can hold for a while, but you cannot completely stop that. Like peeing, urination, sensation of urination. You may be on hold, but you cannot stop. Sensation of flatus, sensation of going to the toilet, feces, sensation of burp, sensation of sneezing, crying, sleep. You can be put them on hold, but you cannot stop really. So such 13, 1, 3, 13 natural urgencies or natural sensations described by Ayurveda. Out of that 13, if you try to hold or suppress 9, you are prone to get cardiac condition. So one of that was, which I told you, that the flatus or the burp in these all 40 patients, 39 patients, was blocked because they were in sleep. It began. The onset began. So natural urgency, suppression of natural urgencies is one of the big risk for cardiac condition. Then also there are certain things like exhaustive exercise, I told you, or certain strong detox, panchakarma in Ayurveda, or detox in other condition. Anything which will reduce the body volume or anything which will demand more oxygen supply means through blood flow will make you at risk for systemic failure. It's like, if you're driving a vehicle beyond limit, after a while the engine become hot, sometimes the vehicle stop. The carburetor is full, system failure is possible. So, as I told you, lack of exercise is a risk, but excess exercise is also a risk. And that is more grave risk because that will stop the engine. which we don't pay. Everybody is, I really sometimes don't understand. Everybody is telling me, okay, I'm doing cardio. A 32-year-old young chap doing cardio. Why? Because I want to train my heart. Hey, come on. You are 32-year-old. If your heart is not trained, what is the use? What is the need? The stimulation is required when it's lazy. If you are not aware whether it's lazy or not and you're doing cardio, you are doing excess. These are simple things, but we really don't pay attention to, and then it creates problem. There are certain other things like wrong treatment or excessive treatment of diseases, indigestion, weight loss, etc. But just few things, as I told you, I'm just pointing out. So these 13, out of that, for example, some you need to pay attention to, because sometimes we hold due to social cause. Like if you are in France and if you have burp, you try to hold that. You cannot burp if you are with somebody. It's not considered as a social behavior. You will be surprised. And this is a kind of, so this is the beginning of research. I thought that, so what I did, in Europe, we made a questionnaire of these natural urges and we published on a website, research website. In 1 month, we got 272 replies, and most of them themselves were linking the symptoms they are having and suppression of natural. The first one said, now I realize why I'm getting some low backache here when I'm in the meeting, because I used to hold P. So people start to realize that. So flatus, feces, urine, thirst, burp, coughing, these are the things which normally we try to suppress in a social place. If you suppress once, it's not a problem. If you suppress a month, it's not a problem. But if you develop that habit for a year, then it start to disturb. Because you are diverting the natural flow. You are making body. So this is some of the natural risks which you need to pay attention to. Then also, there are certain food elements like contaminated water, we know, sheep milk. This is something you have to understand. Goat milk is fine, cow milk is fine, sheep milk is not good for cardiac, already person having already cardiac condition. Then hemorrhagic condition, bleeding condition, hemorrhagic condition can lead to, because I told you volume is reduced. Another important thing, old leaves or old green vegetable. Now, old means not that you have dried and using. Old means you have taken it, put it in a refrigerator for a day or two, that's fine. But if you are keeping it for a week or 2 weeks and you are using it, then it's not fine. Because then they are not anymore fresh, even though you are putting them in a refrigeration. So make sure that whatever vegetables you bring, green leaves especially, that should be used in a couple of days, not really kept a week. Then alkalis or extra mineral product, which I already explained you, that mineral can be a risk factor for that, and emotions. This is one of the patient. So she called me saying that she has a bradycardia. There was some issue, so I told her to go back again to the doctor. She was afraid. She did this another ECG in the next clinic, and you can see the changes. these two ECGs had a difference of 22 minutes. And then I did another ECG. When she come back with two ECGs, it was normal. Normal means with bradycardia, of course. So just fear can alter the rhythm. How do I describe that? There is a particular type of vata which controls the heart rhythm. There is a particular type of vata which transmits the fear to the mind. And there is a particular type of vata which controls the whole phenomenon. Prana controls whole phenomenon. Sadak, the particular type of pitta, sadak pitta, transform the fear or knowledge, whatever, and Vyanavad. So just thinking of going to the hospital because of some cardiac situation change her rhythm. And when she was back to my clinic with my assurance, she came back to me. Now, what I would recommend? Two more slides and then we go to research study. First thing I would recommend is Langana. Langana means the diet which makes you feel light and the diet which helps to circulate things better, whether it's the blood or whether it's the energy. The diet which will remove the obstruction, the diet which will inflate the fire, digestive fire in your body. So it might be fasting or it might be light liquid diet. This liquid diet scenario is really working well in today's world with certain critical situations. Then second is pachana, digesters. The difference is it's not appetizers, it's the digesters. What you need is digesters, not appetizers. Hmm? So you have to identify because what happens most of the times we think appetizer as a digester because we are really fall in love with spices. So we think all the spices are digesters. It's not. So certain spices which are not really hot or penetrating, hot especially, they are more of a digester, like cumin, like fennel, like coriander. And those like black pepper, for example, those who are hot or penetrating, they are more of a appetizer. Well, you can mix and you can use for both the purpose. Or some spices like ginger, fresh and dry. Fresh is more appetizer, dry is more digester. So you can do that. There are certain treatment part, like to make you sweat up to the extent, what we call svedana, purgation, and also enema, basti, what we call. But this basti is in a particular way, not in every condition. There are certain food elements which are recommended in cardiac situation, like old rice, red rice, which is one of the good thing for many diseases. Mung beans, these green beans down, you can see mung beans, or the chocolate beans or red beans, kulatta, what we call, or dal, lentils. Like in Europe, you can get this red pois lentils. They are more or less like that. Barley, instead of wheat, barley is better option. Meat or meat soups of moving animals or dry land animals or birds. Moving animals means like goat, all the time moving. Cow or buffalo, they are sitting most of the time. Pig, most of the time sitting. Chicken is running. Deer is running. Rabbit is running. So the animals which move a lot or run a lot, or the animals which are grown more commonly developed in dry lands or deserts, or many birds like partridge, So bird meat or moving animal meat or dry land animal meat are recommended. Well, there is a condition that most of this meat has to be taken with black pepper. Then vegetable luffa, bitter gourd, ash gourd, kushmanda, mango, no problem. Pomegranate, fantastic. It's one of the cardio supportive and cardio protective food. Then porridges or gruels, soups, certain spices which are also cardio supportive or protective. One of that is garlic, but just make sure that if you are already cardiac patient and if you are on aspirin, then you cannot eat like that garlic because they enhance the effect of each other. However, in cooking properly, you can use a bit of garlic, but normally with aspirin, garlic cannot go. But independently, garlic is good. I use garlic as replacement therapy to aspirin. When I reduce aspirin, I introduce garlic. Ginger, then asafoetida. Fresh new baby radish, not the old big one. Fresh small baby radish. They are good. Cardioprotective. Black caraway seed or caraway seed. Nigella sativum, Latin name. Or Nigella seeds, you can say. Then grapes, old jaggery or molasses, rock salt, coriander, then castor oil is one of the very supportive things, especially when you are having this ama element. Castor oil is one of the very good things. Ayurveda to use medicated wines, herbal medicated wines for cardiac condition, which normally alcohol is not really recommended, but these medicated wines are really good and they are helpful. They reverse. And most important is acceptance. Accept the scenario, have a courage to face the scenario, and to get that, you need a self awareness or self intelligence. Ayurveda says that all the mental conditions, you need this first thing, Dhi Dhairya Atmadi Vijnanam, Manodosha Ushadam Param. The best medicine for psychological scenario is Dhi, creating intelligence, self awareness, Dhairya, courage to face, and Atmadi Vijnanam, self awareness or self realization. Acceptance reduces strongly your stress level. And once the stress level is reduced, you are in a better situation to handle stress. As I told you, digestive system is the base. So you have to go with light, warm, fresh, bit unctuous. Means you can use ghee or you can use refined oil and bit spicy. Most of the spices I explained, the digestive spices you can use, like asafoetida, like cumin, like coriander, the garlic. That has to be used. Then the food has to be all the six tastes, but sour. This is interesting. Sour, sweet, and pungent. So then again, oh, but sweet. The problem is when we think of sweet, we think only of sugar. What is not good is refined sugar. What is not good is saturated sweet. What is really good is non-refined sweet or not saturated sweet. Like most of the fruit sugars, they're not refined. Licorice is sweet. Milk, it's sweet. Ghee, it's sweet. Thin porridges, they're sweet. Honey is sweet. So sweet is not really a thing to blame. Our common sense is to be blamed. Because when we think of sweet, we think only of sugar, and that too refined sugar and refined sugar products or saturated refined sugar sweets. They are not good, but other sweets they are required. So this has to be kept in mind. Now, what is important is eat with body-mind concentration, without talking, without argument, without laughing, distraction like we are watching TV serial, television, and eating. In fact, food is one of the only thing which you do in a day for your body. Rest everything is for look or for personality. That too, if you are not paying attention to, what is use? And now you know, last 10 years there is a huge discussion on food psychology. It's a hot topic today. And they are telling that, for example, if you are around noon, if you are passing by nearby a restaurant and it smells good, you start to feel like eating. If you see ice cream, you want to eat ice cream. That affects. And then this hypothalamus, which transmit that feeling into actually biochemical reactions. And that decides whether to accept or not. This is the food psychology things you can read. So it really matters how you eat. And as mind is a site, mind is staying in the heart. And if there is unpleasantness in your meal, it will adversely affect. Certain behavioral things also like take care of your constipation, flatulence, or strong diarrhea. One more important thing, day sleep is really bad, what we call in Spanish siesta, fiesta and siesta. Eat and sleep. Day sleep, especially after meals, in a lying down position are really bad thing for all the metabolic disorders like diabetes, hyperlipidemia, hypertension, cardiovascular. And I can show you plenty of research on that. Plenty of research. Even one Japanese researcher has claimed that 1 hour of day sleep can increase 10 gram of weight. And then if you move or activate, you may reduce 3, 4, 5 grams, but 5 grams still accumulates, for example. So that, and then distressing. Distressing can be done by counseling or distraction. If you are stressed, and this is something which is very interesting and good thing I would like to describe. For example, if something bothers you, let's say this glass here bothers me. The more I look into the glass, the more I get disturbed. Imagine if I turn my face and I stop looking at the glass. There will be no bothering. This is distraction. And in cardiac condition, acceptance and distraction are really important. Accept the cardiac situation. And right now, I had 3 patients from USA, 3. All 3 were advised to undergo bypass surgery. First 2 had some renal issues, parameters were not good, so it was postponed and then they approached to me. Now it's been almost 42 days, no bypass, and their heart pumping capacity, which was 10 and 15, is now 50. One is from New Jersey and 2 are from California right now. So, and what they are enjoying really is this Langana and all these things. They are really enjoying it. Because first thing I made them aware that you have to accept that you have this situation. This is the answer they have given. Bypass. That has a 10 years of life. And if you don't, even if you do bypass, you have to follow this. If you don't follow this, there will be an issue again. So Whether you do bypass or not, you have to follow. So start following. Let's see, we'll do a bypass after. So, well, this is a simple thing I'm telling you, but it took me half an hour to counsel them. And distraction. All the time paying attention to heart, I make them busy. And things were going well. So distraction. So now my research, the first research, very first. So this is what I will describe, that there is obstruction of kapha and pitta. So structure and solid obstruction. Okay. Increase vata. So it blocks the free flow of energy, free flow of blood, whatever, oxygen, whatever you can say. It may produce balloon, because it's like a block and air goes, it may produce a balloon also. So either thickening of the walls or practically obstruction or a balloon. These three possibilities are there. And this travels through rasa channel, means travels through cardiac vessel or arteries. And what it produces, excessive pain and discomfort at the heart and difficulty in expiration. This is the description. Well, this I will skip. So what I did, in fact, is some herbal infusions. In some condition, I made tablets because they were not able to take. Same thing, huh? And spices, most of the things I described was used here. And what I did is a kind of root basti later. In an acute onset, not. After like 72 hours, the acute onset was reduced. Then we gave 2 3 days, and the first week, end of first week, we started this. And we have done that for 28 days. Further 4 weeks. So this is very simple thing. You take a metallic ring, you put it on a heart location, you put some oil. Well, here we use a specific oil because it was a research, so you need to be more precise. Devdar Valley or Bhadradar Valley Taila, which is the water pacifying oil. And you have to keep this up to 15 minutes there, the oil, which is hot, and then you have to remove everything. So this was the primary thing. What was the inclusion criteria? They have to follow all the three symptoms of Ruchula, and they should be proven ischemic heart disease. So, classical angina pain or chest pain, which is radiating towards left arm, history of ischemia or even infarction, proven evidence on ECG, or we did a small master stress test. It was not possible to do stress test for every patient because the hospital I work is a hospital for poor people, and also it's not possible for the management to pay 3 times the stress test cost. So we developed, this was the basic stress test used. Then there is a thallium scan, and then further stress tests were developed. But that basic stress test we use. Exclusion as usual, there are certain things. The stress test, there is a picture I will show you what I did. It was like we made a 3 stairs, and the person was running on the stair up and down with the ECG leads on body. And we were monitoring the ECG. That's the stress test. There were some acute patients which has evidence of acute onset of infarct. So the hemagarbha, which is a herbomineral preparation, was used with that. And other patients were, means hemagarbha was with that spice sticks. So that's why it's hard. It's a special. And they were divided to 4 groups. Patients having this only because they were categorized in a particular way. B, patients were having panchakarma, so basti and rudbasti only. The rudbasti you have seen and basti. And C, patients were having both. and the control group was the patients were in a washout period and then they kept with their medication as it is. So this was the design. Rudbasti, as you know. In acute condition, Hemagarba was given in a submucosal or sublingual way. So it was rubbed on the tongue in acute condition with honey and ginger juice. And the basti was, anal basti was given 60 to 100 cc. And the Rudbasti I already explained. We also did a gradation, and this is the master stress test. Okay, 3 stairs running the person in ECG. So you can see there was a person with ECG first, and then he runs with the ECG machine around him. Now in this, if there is a change less than 2 millimeter in a ECG lead, it's not considered as a significant. If it's more than 2 millimeter, then it's a significant change. So that's why it has been considered. ECG leads, you know, this graph. The graph has a small squares of millimeters. So if it's more than 2 millimeters, then it's a significant change. So this was the gradation that time we did because we had some limited resources, so we did that. Another with because we have to do so we use this pen scale VAS visual analog uh, because you know not everybody is literate, so you have to do some visualization. They have to draw and they have to confirm. And with that, sign symptoms mainly pain and breathlessness. If there is a relief on the VAS and the symptoms, then these are the criteria. So if the person on his level feels improvement 100% or 75% or 50%, he was notifying that. And this you have also means you know it's very difficult sometimes even for these people to identify the numbers. So you have to really make some pictures. Probably if you go on net, you can see different pen scales. So what happened? If you see, this is the effect of treatment based on their input, okay, on the analog. And this was the impact in that 5 weeks. So if you see, the maximum was combined group. And the control group was also showing some improvement because they were on medication. But if you see the difference, control group with conventional medicine was also showing improvement in that 5 weeks, but it was maximum was 26% in chest pain, whereas all the Ayurvedic groups were 43, 48, or 53. So it was a remarkable difference in chest pain. In fact, I could tell you that in within 72 hours with this Hemagarva in acute situation with Hemagarva, the pain was disappearing. The breathlessness was almost reduced. So now in electrocardiogram changes, again, if you see the Hemagarva group is showing no change in fact for people. But then it's a group tissue. But again, if you combine, then you see a good difference. As I told you, So out of that 37 patients, the substantial difference was in these two groups. So if you see 2 mm and 2 3 mm, but again combination therapy works well. Then the symptoms wise, again it's the same thing. One patient was deteriorated in fact in the Hemagarbha group, but improved, markedly improved is in the combination group. Okay. Now deteriorated was after he was died, but uh, it was some another story why he deteriorated. But we have to mention that in the hospital there are different things. Again, combination works well instead of single thing. Okay. Why? I will explain this. And the last thing, this was not our aim, but we still, because we're recording, so we realize that it shows also effect on the people who are taking certain medications. Like these all were on hypertensive drugs, and that was not really in contraindication. So we kept the hypertensive drugs. And what we realized that the people who were taking this Panchakarma or Panchakarma and Hebarba, they were reduced their hypertensive medicine dependency. So this was not meant, but this happened in due course, which was not that much in just medicine group. But medicine or Panchakarma group shows improvement and reduce the dependency on the drug. Well, it's not very clear, but for example, if you see here, it's a huge, massive heart attack. It was in Tarachand Hospital, STRH. And third day, this was the same person's conversation, which is still it's there. It's not as deviated as in this. So if you see all these things, what is happening? Panchakarma treatment is really taking over Vata. So when it takes over Vata, it reduces certain hyperactivity, certain hypersensitivity, and it rhythmizes the flow. This is one thing. Second thing, which is more important, is the block there is a structural block. So when there is structural block, you need to loosen it to improve. You cannot really break like that. You need to loosen it. And third thing, if you cannot loosen it, at least you have to create a flexibility or lumen. So the role of Panchakarma was to control Vata in a rhythmic flow and to loosen or create a flexibility, lumen, so Vata can flow further and take the blood flow further. And that's what has happened. And that's why the group with Panchakarma also shows effect on Panchakarma or Panchakarma medicine also shows effect on other medicine dependence. And this is something which, again, for example, if somebody is having hypertension, just first day, beginning, what is the classical medicine treatment? In fact, classical medicine treatment is not to give them antihypertensive medicine. You can read even Harrison's book of medicine, Davidson's book, any book. They say sedate the patient, make them sleep for 2-3 hours, again check the blood pressure. If the pressure is controlled down, then they don't need the medicine. So what means sleep? sleep is slowing down, reducing the hyperactivity, and bringing them in a rhythmic way. So sometimes some people, due to some situation, their pressure is high. With this sleep, the situation they forget, the things goes out of their mind or out of their body, their heart and their vascular pressure bearing capacity come back to normal, and they don't need hypertension. That's the idea. So you should not be exposed immediately. That's what the classical medicine book says. Well, in practice, it's not really followed, but still. So, in the same way, Panchakarma treatment, or because see, if I tell you to run from your room in from one side to another side, you'll be there in maximum 5 seconds. But imagine there is oil on the floor, and if I tell you to run from there to here, will you run? It's not possible. You will sleep, you will fall, or you have to be slowed down, rhythm, balance, and then you will go. This is exactly what happens there. The Vanvata pumping is there, oil goes, the pumping is slow down and rhythm. So that's why the Panchakarma was chosen. So this was the first study. Then we further developed and we went on 4 different studies. We have a separate study for valvular defect, and we have a separate study for structural scenarios, and then we have a separate study besides this with comorbidities. Means in there the criteria was a diabetic patient with comorbidity, cardiac condition. So we combine diabetes and heart, and we continue further. So this was a small research, but then just to conclude, there are a lot of openings are there. For example, we can do 9 different research projects if we want to, just as a literally even research project. That do you suppress flatus, and when you suppress, do you have any cardiac issues? Even that can be done to the patient who are already suffering by asking their lifestyle habits previously. For example, there are various different projects can be done with, let's say, some of the food elements I told you and cardiac condition. For example, and this is really you can also try. If somebody is complaining of acute chest pain, suspecting of ischemic thing, you just tell them to apply dry ginger on the heart area and go to the hospital. The person will definitely survive until it reaches to the hospital, because if you read the Harrison's Book of Medicine, they say that 75% of acute onset of cardiac condition people dies within first 20 to 25 minutes if they don't get any medical assistance. So this is a so acute condition. So if you apply dry ginger, why dry ginger? It's very simple. If you go to botany and if you read Gingiva of Encinalis, it's written clearly it is a vasodilator. And what you need at that moment is dilatation of vessel. Forget Ayurveda, even with conventional medicine. And that works really well in many acute onset of pain, constrictive, vasoconstrictive pain. Dry ginger works fantastic application. So as in cardiac condition. So this is these kind of things we develop later. This was the very first step. So I think this is a conclusion which I already told you. But some of the things that, for example, in my study, what I found is the middle economical class is more prone, and poor people in India were less suffering at that time. Okay, because probably they are not really exposed to saturated food. so much. They are not exposed to so much refined sweets, etc. So that's why probably, and they were not really exposed to risk factors like lack of movement and things like that because they are working and they are moving. Then what I found is whether they are vegetarian or non-vegetarian, that really doesn't make big difference on their scenario condition. Because one of the things I must tell you that most of the Indian non-vegetarian dishes are with asafoetida, with garlic already in there. So there is some protection there. And of course, this I told you that natural urges was a very strong risk factor. And what we found is excessive sweating was also a symptom which was not in the text, in Ayurvedic text. Okay. Well, this again, if you see, as which I explained already, group C is more useful and effect on the control of other medicines like hypertension, etc. was also found. What is the negative aspect of this study is there was no change really found in the stress test. Change. Huh? So stress test remains same what was before and what was after. But it was a very short period, 5 weeks. And that was the part which was our marker, but we failed in that to show change. Well, we can say that it was not bad, it was not worsened if I want to, but it's not. So there was no change, means a failure. So we were having good results in 3 criteria and one extra like other effects, but one criteria was failed. Now, if you have any question, you can ask me.
I have a question.
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Marda. It was an excellent presentation. I wanted to know a little bit more about the excess of minerals and how that affects
Yeah.
tissue.
See, minerals, most of the minerals, if you see, they have a tendency to absorb and retain water. For example, if you put a salt outside in a humid climate, what happens? There are two different aspects of minerals as per Ayurveda. Now, with conventional medicine, I can easily tell you that there is a renal hypertension, angiotensin 1, 2, blah, blah, blah. That I can tell you, but Ayurveda aspect. So, minerals or alkalis are used to deblock in Ayurveda. But at the same time, if they come in contact with met medium, they are not that much effective because they have a tendency to fold. They become pichila, they become sticky. This is one thing. Second thing, minerals are liquefying kapha, which is good but which is also bad. Good when it's not a complete block, but bad because then liquefaction can occupy more space, more block. When you have a limited lumen like this, and if you have a thick thing here, if you liquefy, it occupies more. Okay, so that is the second thing. Third important thing, as per Ayurveda, most of the minerals spoils your rasa and rakta, means blood production. They disturb. That's why salt or minerals are considered as a rakta production. And all this is happening through rakta medium, blood medium. So that's the third and last. Fourth, minerals can increase pitta, and pitta contributes also in the block. So that aspect also we have to keep in the mind. So you need to be smart to use minerals. What I'm talking about is the food grade or bicarbonated drinks and things, minerals or carbonates, alkalis are used in the food. They are not good. But if you do a specific way as a medicinal use, they are fantastic. Okay. Any other question? No?
That was a wonderful explanation. Excellent presentation, Dr. Marda. You talked
So,
about the anatomy, the physiology, the pathophysiology of heart diseases from Ayurvedic standpoint, as well as the Western view. It
yes,
was absolutely awesome. And what I really loved about, like understanding behind the research. So curiosity is really the first step to the research.
absolutely, absolutely. If you don't have a question why, how, I don't think, then you pretend to be a researcher. You will not be a researcher. You should get disturbed. At least you should, when you study a new subject, at least you should have one sleepless night. Why? How? Maybe you will have already answer known, so you'll be satisfied with sleeping. If you don't have answer, then you start searching next day. That is research.
Absolutely. And I loved about the creativity that you had. So if you don't have enough of, resources, if you have limited resources, you can be still creative and
Yes,
keep doing your research work.
yes. It's the same. Just this is not subject. It's the same. In Ayurveda, for diabetes, they have described 20 different types of diabetes based on urine examination, physical approach. So I did that. I did it just by transparent glass bottle. You take a urine and then I checked refraction, I checked temperature, I checked the smell test. I used some physics and I created a method of uh, finding some types described in Ayurveda. That was the basic steps in my diabetes research, for example, which I told you before that
Mhm.
we went with diabetes and heart disease further. And in fact, that was really this. Well, it doesn't work out because of the COVID scenario, but in fact, this was taken by WHO because they were more interested in diabetes in basic research. So they wanted. So I told them that this can give you at least the prediction that this can be controlled well and this cannot be controlled on the basis of urine examination. And they were really interested in that. In 2019, I have given them that protocol. So in Geneva. So you have to.
Yeah, it's
If you are a
absolutely
researcher,
awesome.
that creativity also comes by research mind.
Mhm.
You understand?
Yeah.
So
And yeah, and like finally, we should not stop with the research work. So it opened up the doors for many more researchers, and you kept on working on those, which is really absolutely awesome. Uh, yeah, thank you so much.
so thank you very much and enjoy your day. Have a great day ahead.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.